undiluted. We go deep, we bring you the news behind the news. On the FM News, if it's new, then it's news.
Good afternoon, welcome to the World News at Noon on Honor 103.5 FM. And the national news this afternoon, President Tinubu meets security chiefs, demands new security blueprint. On the African news, Congo M23 rebels reach ceasefire in peace talks. On the foreign scene, President Trump accuses Zelensky of harming peace negotiations. And on business, federal government targets 900 billion naira to 1.2 trillion naira from domestic bond market. In entertainment, Davido credits Chris Brown for career success. While on the sport news, Manchester United set to trigger Osimhen's release clause. Welcome once again to the news. I am Temitope Dada. Now the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has ordered a fresh security blueprint to address the recent killings in Plateau, Benue, and Borno states. This follows a 4-hour security briefing with the president at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja. National Security Advisor Noor Ribadu revealed that the president directed them to engage state-level authorities in the worst-hit regions. The move comes after a series of deadly attacks in the affected states. In Plateau State, at least 51 people were killed in a single night in ZK village, while in Benue, 56 people were killed in twin assaults blamed on armed heathers. In Borno, 8 passengers were killed and scores injured when an improvised explosive device ripped through a bus. Ribado explained that intelligence chiefs received fresh instructions to restore peace, security, and stability across Nigeria. The president has ordered immediate outreach to the political authorities in the affected states, and the defense team has been directed to carry out his directives and report back. Also in the news this afternoon, the federal government has released 50 billion naira to the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and non-academic staff unions of federal universities. This is for the settlement of end allowances, as promised by President Tinubu. The Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Olatuji Alausa, announced the release of the fund in a statement issued by the Director of Press and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Education. According to the statement, the release of the fund reflects the administration's commitment to transforming Nigeria's education sector. The government aims to transition the nation from a resource-based to a knowledge-based economy through strategic investment in education, infrastructure, and human capital. The Minister of Education described the intervention as a reaffirmation of President Tinubu's belief in the capacity of the Nigerian youth and the invaluable role of academic and non-academic staff in nurturing them. The release of the fund is expected to ease tensions between the government and university unions. On the African news this afternoon, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have agreed to halt fighting in the east of the country until peace talks mediated by Qatar reach their conclusion. This is the latest truce deal since the rebels stepped up their offensive in eastern DR Congo, where authorities say 7,000 people have been killed since January. Both sides announced the agreement to work towards peace following more than a week of talks, which they described as frank and constructive. The agreement comes after Congolese President Felix and his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame reaffirmed their commitment to an unconditional ceasefire in a surprise meeting last month. The decade-long conflict in DR Congo has intensified in January, with the M23 rebels seizing key cities and sparking fears of a wider regional war. DR Congo accuses Rwanda of backing the rebels, which Rwanda has denied. the foreign scene this afternoon, coming from the United States, President Trump, the U.S. president, has accused Ukrainian President Zelensky of harming peace negotiations after Zelensky said Kyiv would not recognize Russian control of Crimea. Trump claimed on social media that a deal to end the war was very close, but that Zelensky's refusal to accept U.S. terms would do nothing but prolong the conflict. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance had earlier outlined the U.S. vision for the deal. This would mean Ukraine and Russia would have to give up some of the territory they currently control. However, Ukraine has long maintained that it would not give up Crimea, which was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. Zelensky has consistently rejected the suggestion that Ukraine gives up its claim, citing the country's constitution. Trump, on the other hand, has expressed his desire to see the war end, saying he has no favorites and just wants a deal done. Also coming from South Korea, former South Korean President Moon Jae-in has been indicted on charges of bribery related to his former son-in-law's job at an airline. Prosecutors alleged that Moon's son-in-law, Soo, was hired by the airline in exchange for the airline's CEO leading a state-funded agency. That's what having little experience in the aviation industry. Soo received around 217 million won, or in salary and housing support between 2018 and 2020, which prosecutors say constitute bribes intended for Moon. The indictment comes amid a series of prosecutions against officials in Moon's administration, including his former national security advisor and defense minister, who were indicted for allegedly leaking intelligence to activists. Moon led South Korea from 2017 to 2022, which is best remembered for his attempt to broker a peace deal with North Korean leader Kim Jong. And the business report for this afternoon, the federal government has made plans to raise between 900 billion naira and 1.2 trillion naira from the domestic bond market in the second quarter of 2025. This is according to the FGN bond issuance calendar for the second quarter released by the Debt Management Office. The target is a significant drop from the 1.8 trillion naira targeted in the first quarter of the year. The reduced target comes as the government faces a tough fiscal environment characterized by weak oil receipts, elevated inflation, and a record border deficit of 13.03 trillion naira. The DMO plans to raise between 300 billion naira and 400 billion naira at each of the three auctions scheduled for April 28, May 26, and June 23. The government will offer 2 bonds per month, combining reopened bonds and new issuances. In April and May, the DMO will reopen 2 existing bonds, while in June it will introduce 2 new issues with original tenors of 5 and 7 years. On the entertainment scene, Nigerian singer Davido has revealed that meeting American R&B singer Chris Brown in 2018 significantly impacted his career. Speaking on a podcast program, Davido recalled how a mutual friend called him on FaceTime while at Brown's house with his song playing in the background. Davido said Brown was dancing to his song, and after a brief conversation, they met in person a few months later in America. Davido credited this account an encounter which changed in his life, saying he and Brown naturally became friends from the moment they met. Davido's collaboration with Chris Brown has been a highlight of his career, exposing him to new audiences and opportunities. The Nigerian singer has gone to achieve international recognition, including multiple award nominations and sold-out tours. Finally, on the sport news this afternoon, Manchester United are poised to trigger Victor Osimhen's €75 million release clause after reportedly agreeing to basic salary terms with the Nigerian striker. According to Italian media outfit, United manager Ruben Amorim is eager to strengthen his attacking options and views Osimhen as a key signing. Osimhen has been an impressive form during his loan spell at Galatasaray, scoring 30 goals and providing 7 assists and 35 appearances. Despite Galatasaray's interest in signing him permanently, United appeared to have won the race for his signature. The Nigerian international was heavily linked with a move to the Premier League last summer, with Chelsea also among his suitors. United is currently experiencing a difficult campaign, sitting 14th in the Premier League table. Osimhen is seen as a necessary addition to the impressive fortunes next season. And that'll be all for now on the World News at noon on Honor 103.5 FM. Before we go, here is a recap of the major stories. On the national news, we informed you that President Tinubu has met with security chiefs and he has demanded a new security blueprint. On the African news, Congo M23 rebels have reached a ceasefire deal in peace talks. On the foreign scene, President Trump has accused Zelensky of harming peace negotiations. While in business, federal government is targeting 900 billion naira to 1.2 trillion naira from domestic bond market. In entertainment, Davido has credited Chris Brown for his career success. While in sport news, Manchester United is set to trigger Osimhen's release clause. For Eyewitness Report news mentions and news commercials, contact the Honor FM newsroom at 0915-103-5555 or 0704-800-1035. You can also check out our website at www.honorfm1035.net for more information. The news is compiled by Adidamola Sakar. I am Temitope Dada. Thanks for listening.
And that was the news on Honor 103.5 FM. Honor and integrity. Our